Hey guys, Toby Morrison here, and today's topic is how to deal with anger. And it's a really good question actually by one of our online members who sent in a request on, Toby, how do I deal with my anger? I feel so angry all the time, but I don't have the energy to release it, or I guess pretend that it's not there by, exercising it off or swimming it out or punching a pillow. Even though I told a funny story in one of my videos about when I was really sick with CFS, and I think it was like the day I got diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, and on one hand it was a relief to get a diagnosis because it was 2 years until I'd got it, but on the other hand I was so frustrated because there wasn't an answer, and all the doctor said was, I don't know anything, I don't know what you can do. Rest it off and sleep it off and exercise and think positively. And I remember getting home and I was so angry that I picked up my basketball shoe at the time, which I hadn't played for in 2 years, and I threw it at the wall as hard as I could. And the energy it took for me to throw that shoe took it out of me so much that I practically cried myself to sleep, and I just felt like crap. So there's a couple of ways to deal with anger in a really constructive way. And let me just tell you before we start this is that just know that anger is a normal emotion that we all experience. And if we try to pretend it's not there, it will build up inside of us and get a lot worse. And it happened to me a long time ago when I was really angry, but I was suppressing it a lot. So what you suppress will eventually express. Okay, so it's important to express your emotions, but more importantly, there's a couple of things that are really important that I want to get across to you today. Because sometimes we get angry about ourselves, but then we also get angry about others. Expectation is a huge one. So if you, especially with yourself and other people, so if you're expecting yourself to always be a certain way, and then when you don't be that certain way, you get angry, that's going to be a very common occurrence in your life until you realize that you need to drop that expectation of yourself. If your expectation of you always have to be up here, type A personality, overachiever, overdoer, then whenever you're not doing so well, bang, there's a big gap and a big way to fall and drop, which is going to create a lot of negative emotions, okay? And by the way, negative emotions are normal. It's just how we express them and how we deal with them that's really important. Now, on the flip side is when you expect things of others, that gets very messy. So, as you can know, and I'm sure you've done it and I've done it before, is how nice are the birds here. When you're constantly expecting something from someone else, whether it be they act a certain way or they understand you better or they should do this or they shouldn't do that, whenever you say those types of things, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, that is going to cause you internal stress because you can't control anything outside of you. So whenever you're in someone else's business, which is when you're saying you should or shouldn't and you're pointing the finger, and remember when you point the finger you point 3 back at you. And there's a lot of people pointing fingers these days, but there's not many people living their lives on their terms and staying in their own business, okay? And that's one of my duties in my life, to stay in my own business. Especially in the business of all this world at the moment, everyone's got an opinion, but usually they're not that valid because, unless the person's doing it within their own life, then it's really, how can you know that it's true and it's right, okay? So live by example, lead by example, try to listen instead of talk all the time, okay? Back to what I was saying with the expectation, when you're constantly in someone else's business saying you should or shouldn't, and this is a big one with chronic fatigue syndrome, trying to get other people in your life to understand your condition and understand you. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. If you never had CFS before, if you never had a bad illness before, and let's say, actually I'm not going to say it's a bad illness because there's lots of blessings from this experience that you are probably going through right now, even if you can't see them. They're really blessings in the stressing. So if you're constantly trying to get someone to change or be something different, then you're constantly getting that push or pull when they're not doing what you want them to do. And especially when you're trying to get someone to understand your situation, especially with CFS. Imagine if you never had CFS and your best friend had it or your family member had it, and you would just be standing there going, what is wrong with you? Like, get up, move, like, let's do this, just run it off and have a better sleep and have a coffee and you'll be okay, because you don't really know what it feels like inside. So you can actually never really get anyone outside of you to understand you. because they are not you. They can, of course, they can empathize with you and they can feel for you, and of course I can, because I've experienced what you're probably going through. Okay, of course there's going to be differences, and you know, there's no need for comparison, but at the end of the day, I have a special understanding and compassion towards people who are going through tough times, because I've been through them myself. Okay, and there's lots of other people who have too, and that's why it's so great to be able to connect with each other. So whenever you're in someone else's business, just quickly ask the question, whose business am I in? Because again, when you're trying to change someone else, it's a frustrating process. And you know for a fact that you can't change anyone else but yourself. Right? There goes my drink bottle. So if you can know that, then it's all it's about is consciously being aware of, okay, whose business am I in? You know, is it up to me, or am I trying to change someone else even though they might not want to be changed? So that's a really good one with the understanding thing. Trying to get people to understand your problems and have more empathy for you is probably not a good way to go about it. It's more about you putting yourself in their shoes and going, okay, well, if I was them, I probably wouldn't understand either. And of course it's important for people to care and express love and gratitude, but at the same time, you've got to be realistic. And the reality is that not everyone's going to understand you. Okay? So with that, once you're conscious of it and you're mindful of it, then anger won't exist. Okay? Now, another thing that you'll deal with is guilt and frustration and anger towards yourself. You'll beat yourself up. You'll beat yourself up. I didn't do this. I should have done that. And you can sit there for years and do the same thing. I've witnessed it. You know, people sabotage their own life and their own self because they stuffed up once or twice and they made a mistake. And the thing is, everyone makes mistakes. It's just the people who get on with it are the ones who don't dwell on the mistake and don't attach themselves to the mistake. All right, and of course it's easier said than done, and that's why there's, you know, coaches out there and therapists and different bits of help and information that can help you get past that or dissolve those feelings of anger and frustration. But it's really important to know that it's a universal thing. We all stuff up, we all make mistakes, we all feel worthless and guilty and depressed and upset and anxious and self-doubting and all these kinds of emotions. It's just when you start to believe it and you start to make it become true in your life and in your reality. So one thing is really important is to question the stories that you're telling yourself and write it down. You know, you might be like, you know, I'm worthless, I'm never going to get better, my life sucks. Well, you know, is it 100% true that that is true? You know, is it like maybe 77%, you know, 97% of it is, but there's 3% that isn't true. And there's 3% that you can hold on to, that there's something special about you even in these dark times. Okay, it's really important just to realize that. So rather than, you know, getting really expressive, and that can be really helpful too, but obviously you want to be physically able to do that. So, you know, by releasing anger, you can clap really loudly, or run into the seawater, which I might do later, and punch the water, or slap the pillow or whatever, or throw your shoe like I did at the wall and break the wall. Don't do that. My mum wasn't happy. You know, physical expression is great, but also mental decastrophize, what's the word? What am I trying to use here? Mental clearance and space is really important in this process, because we can get so, you know, jammed up and so yanged on this one problem that's really causing us anger, but deep down it's not really that much of a big deal in the schemes of life, is it? But we attach onto it like it is. Now, one thing for sure, which is going a little bit deeper, is that once you attach to that story that really, you know, that person ruined your life, or, you know, this thing stuffed you up and that it's that fault, and you start pointing the fingers everywhere, it's very hard to come back to self. And remember, when you're pointing the finger, you're pointing 3 back at you. So always come back to yourself and go, is it true? And remember, usually when other people are annoying you, it's a reflection of their own projection. Okay, so someone might feel inferior to you, or feel nervous around you, or cause you conflict because what they see in you, actually they see in themselves, and it really irritates them and probably makes them angry, and they probably should watch this video more than you. You can send it to them if you want. So what I suggest is be mindful of what actually is, rather than the story that you play in your head. And again, meditate on it, breathe. You know, let it pass. You'll probably get so worked up for 24 hours or 2 days, and then something else will happen, and then you'll realize it wasn't, that's gone. It's been in the past. One thing is, usually right now in the present moment, there's actually no problems. It's just that we drag the past problems into the present now in our minds. Earthcut Tolle is a person who talks about the power of now, and whilst he might seem hippie and a little bit eccentric on the outside, he's actually got some very common sense and logical, practical help that actually just says, right now you're not actually suffering from anything. It's just that you're bringing the past suffering into the present moment. And when you realize that, life becomes a lot easier right now. And of course we forget it, and we're constantly evolving. Okay, so we're setting back and we're evolving. We're setting back, we're progressing. So it's really important that we constantly progress and we constantly reprogram and be conscious and mindful of what's actually going on. It's not just a one-night solution, it's a life solution. I hope that helps. If you want more videos, if you want to check more things out, you can go to cfshealth.com, which is right here. Subscribe to my daily emails, which is, you get that sent every day. I love connecting with people and writing challenging and supporting stuff at the same time. And if you are interested in getting help, like an online recovery program, which is in proudly 29 countries, helping thousands of people, you're more than welcome to apply for that and join there, or you can book in one-on-one coaching too with myself or one of the coaches. So I hope that helps. It's okay to get angry, it's normal. I get angry too. Some people think that I'm the Mr. Positive, but don't worry, there's plenty of steam in this bad boy sometimes, and that's why things like surfing for me and going down the beach and relaxing is great. Again, I understand that physically some people aren't capable right now, and I definitely wasn't at one stage. So it's important to listen to your body, listen to your mind, and be conscious of what's actually going on. Is it really true? And what you can do is just question what's really annoying you and what's really making you angry, and that too shall pass. Hope that helps. Again, go to www.cfshealth.com for more relative stuff. It's been great to talk with you, even though you don't talk back to me. I hope that helps. Much love. Bye.